After one of the worst WrestleManias of all time, WWE was looking forward to Extreme Rules. There wasn't much riding on this event, but it was much easier to book when compared to WrestleMania. All they had to do was give some of the matches stipulations and that would be enough. WWE post-WrestleMania was devoid of excitement. For some reason, it didn't seem all that happy and positive when looking back. A part of that is also because of the roster switches and having them set in, but it's also the fact that the creative was very uninspiring. My favorite story from this time was R-Truth's heel turn, and other than that, there was Randy Orton moving to SmackDown, which was bound to be interesting seeing as he was on Raw for about 5 years up to that point. I remember Tough Enough was a big deal at the time, and with the return of The Rock, Stone Cold being around more often, you'd think it would lead to better shows, but it didn't. With that said, Extreme Rules 2011 was held in the St. Pete Times Forum in Tampa, Florida on May 1st, 2011. 10,000 fans were in attendance and the buy rate was 209,000, which was higher than 2010's 182,000. I think 2010's numbers, because of how gloomy WWE after WrestleMania 26 felt, wasn't exciting when compared to the optimism of 2011, seeing as WWE was gonna build a full year program between John Cena and The Rock. The week before this show was so frustrating because I thought John Cena got drafted to SmackDown. They switched him back at the very end, and this is like having a hype day and realizing you forgot your pants at home. I don't think that's a good analogy, but it kind of describes this whole thing. The theme song for the event was Justice by Rev Theory. If only Christian got justice. The first match on the show was a last man standing match. Randy Orton faces CM Punk. The grand finale to the 4-month-long feud between these two. Orton had just moved to SmackDown, and you guys remember this Orton. Very composed but unpredictable. He grew a beard, started using the Olympic slam in his matches, and he was flying high. CM Punk was in a very odd position, and I say it's odd only because of what he ended up doing months later. Let me guess, anonymous GM? I got it right, and I have zero memory of that happening. Like, I just guessed it. I got it correct. The Nexus were barred from ringside. The action was pretty fast early on, with both men having an urgency to gain the upper hand early. Punk's opening was with the kendo stick, and this came after about 3 minutes. He couldn't get a strong hold on the match until now. Randy Orton was fully on defense with CM Punk focusing on the back, so you had to match CM Punk's intensity. See, Bailey? This is what you have to do in an Extreme Rules match when you have a kendo stick. Comeback sequence. The exposed turnbuckle would come into play here as Punk catapulted Orton right into it. This match was pretty passive for a last man standing match. Orton upped the intensity, throwing Punk right through a chair that he set up a minute ago. He was whooping his ass, and this is my favorite sequence in the match. Orton was creative with a rebound power slam. They traded counts here and back of the ring. CM Punk finally hit the GTS. This wasn't enough for the 10 count as Orton barely got himself up. Brutal Russian leg sweep on the steel chair, and there it is, the RKO from out of nowhere, and Punk was stunned. He bounced back by throwing Orton into the post with the steel chair. Anytime you got yourself on the announce table with Randy Orton, it always ends the same way. Orton was so bothered by Punk that he went for the punt. Big mistake. Orton had enough of this nonsense and became a demon with a kendo stick. He hit a super RKO, and that was enough for the victory. Solid match. My issue with it is that it didn't have enough intensity in it to tell the feud as the finale. I wouldn't say intensity is the right word because there was parts of it. There was moments in there, but throughout it mostly felt like a casual match, which would be nice if it was a normal match, but not the finale. It has to be the PG rating because these two had good chemistry with each other, and we've seen better last man standing matches once WWE loosened up the PG rating later on. Sheamus was upset about facing a non-American wrestler. He was complaining about Kofi being from Ghana, and Teddy Long was fighting back with the words. A superhero's been spotted in Tampa. There he is. Sheamus defends the United States Championship against Kofi Kingston in a tables match. Okay. These two quickly went at it. Kofi was much more intense and very urgent bringing in a table. Sheamus was buying some time and all of a sudden turned into a demon. Now Sheamus, you know your opponent has to be groggy enough for that table, right? He almost got caught twice here, but had to jump over the top rope to avoid disaster. Sheamus used the table as a weapon and just throwing it on the challenger. Wide open for the champion, but Kofi flips over and begins his comeback. Great athleticism from Kofi Kingston here. He was starting to become a big problem for Sheamus here, and there was a big bro kick, but Kofi avoids the table. He responds with trouble in paradise, but Sheamus didn't go through the table. So Kingston went up top, and there it is. Good match. Tables matches are kind of hard to do, but they did good with this because it felt like any moment the match would end. Kofi showed great athleticism, Sheamus was brutal and vicious with his strikes and offense, and I like that this match didn't last long because logically, a tables match isn't supposed to be long. Kofi took the title to Raw, whereas Sheamus moved to SmackDown. R-Truth was pissed in the back over being left off the main event in Extreme Rules. This was a funny segment because Truth was throwing some random things in here, and at times he didn't have any coherence in his statement because he was talking so fast. But it made sense because this guy lost his title shot and lost his mind. That damn crowd was wanting him as well, which was so damn annoying, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, Michael Cole teamed up with Jack Swagger to face Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler in a country whooping match. I wonder who was laughing about this match in the back. I wonder who. Cole was wearing bubble wrap thinking he would avoid a whooping. He made fun of Tampa's fans for being retired diaries, and I always feel the same way watching this feud. Nothing changes. What a whooping. Michael Cole was feeling like one of those giant wrestlers that no-sell moves, and this all went to waste though, and he was on the same level playing field as the rest of them. Swagger dominated for a bit before Cole saved him, leading to the ankle lock. He's whooping him like a government mule. My God, Jim Ross with the intense ankle lock. Oh, it's about to turn into a one-sided Pier 6 brawl. Jim Ross caught a vibe, but then Cole stole the match with one of the ugliest roll-ups ever, and Jarrett was disappointed like he lost the main event of WrestleMania. But I get him, you don't want to have Michael Cole, of all people, the annoying Michael Cole who never shuts up, have a win over you. Now, don't think I'm calling this some amazing match, because it is not. It sucks. But my expectation of it before going in, oh my God, I thought this was going to be a tragedy. I still don't like this feud though, but this was way better than their next two matches. Rey Mysterio has one more loose end to tie before moving to Raw, and that was Cody Rhodes. It was false count anywhere. Once a confident and handsome athlete, Cody's broken nose turned his life upside down. A man vying for all the attention in the world was now reduced to hiding in the shadows and becoming a cold and vindictive individual. Great storyline. Cody Rhodes showed his range here and evolved so much from his legacy days. Good promo with the pay-per-view song, and you could say both Cody and Rey wanted justice. He called the fans extremely ugly, and if this guy showed up during this episode of SpongeBob, these two might have offed themselves. Cody overwhelmed Rey right in the beginning. Rey uses his fast offense to steer clear of Rhodes' intensity. Big dropkick on the concrete floor. They made their way to the stage and Rey got to hit a seated senton. That might have been the fastest and most intense seated senton I've ever seen. Like, there was so much velocity with it. They made their way to the crowd where Cody made great use of the environment. He locked Rey in a Boston Crab right onto the steel guardrail and it looked rough. Damn, Mysterio had strength there. Great disaster kick here. Rey responds to the crossbody and there was a brutal hip toss over the barricade. This was a rough match that matched the heat that this feud had. And Rey couldn't figure out things at this point. Back in the ring, Rey hits the springboard and he hit a headbutt at one point, which was weird to see. The fact that Rey Mysterio was connecting with a headbutt was just odd. Like, is this a heel version of Rey Mysterio or something? Rey exposed that knee of his and was ready to give Cody something to cry about for the next 2 months. But it wasn't to be. Rey Alabama slam and Rey responds with mist and hits the 619 splash. 1, 2, 3. Good match. I like this more than the opener because it felt like they had more freedom with their match. Cody looked crazed at some points, and it's not even because of his moves, but because of his character. The spots were creative. That disaster kick was nice to see. Cody throwing Rey over the barricade like he did was crazy. Rey bringing out the mist was random, but Cody looked good in defeat here, so there's that. Layla on the back awkwardly tried to get on the Divas' good side. Oh my God, he's back. I'm not gonna lie, once he returned, I had this smile on my face because I was like, bro, this guy pissed me off. Michelle McCool faces Layla in a loser leaves WWE match. McCool was a very important tag team over the last year and a half, and it's weird to see them fighting after how closely tied together they were. McCool decked Layla off the ropes, and back in the ring, she hit the chick kick for a near fall. McCool was super rough here, like she never had Layla as her friend. Layla responds with a spin kick combo, and McCool was begging for mercy. Big belly to belly from Michelle, and there was a rough landing for both women, but more so Layla. Stunner of sorts for a near fall. Layla was fighting with a lot of emotion as opposed to Michelle McCool. Faith Breaker wasn't to be, but Layla connects with a brutal neck breaker. Then Michelle responds finally with the Faith Breaker, but Layla stole the match with a roll-up. Surprise win, but this was the official end of Lay Cool. Solid match. They wrestled with a lot of hatred, especially Michelle was more angry with Layla than vice versa. I like that. They packed a lot in this short match and they made the most out of the time given. Awesome Kong finally debuted in WWE here as Karma. There was a lot of hope for her as she was one of Triple H's first signings at the time. It was her and Sin Cara, so obviously he wanted to make a mark with his new position. She took out Michelle McCool, who was officially gone from WWE. Great debut for her. She took out one of the most prominent women's wrestlers of the last 3 years at that point, and it felt like there was a lot of potential with Karma in WWE or Awesome Kong because WWE never really booked a dominant woman like a bulldozer type, so it was very unique at the time, and it was something to look forward to. With the unfortunate timing of Edge's retirement, the Rated R superstar left a huge hole in the main event scene. SmackDown practically started and ended with this opened way for Christian and Alberto Del Rio, a ladder match for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship. This one seemed pretty open because it could go either way. Either Del Rio fulfills the inevitable destiny or Christian reaches for gold that always seemed out of reach for him. Del Rio had just gotten drafted to Raw, and since none of the three in the WWE Championship match were on SmackDown, this only meant one thing as it relates to the ladder match. Christian had seen the lights so much in main event matches that he was seeing lights in his sleep, but it was really becoming a possibility here. Very physical battle early on, especially from Del Rio. He had the edge here and at one point threw Christian under the ring. It was so random and the commentary thought it was somewhat dumb. It was almost as dumb as his push because Christian crawled out the other side and hit him with a dropkick. Del Rio climbed the ladder for the first time only to fail but rebound with the enziguri. Del Rio had gotten to the point where he looked like the favorite as he was far too aggressive and mostly made good on his defensive efforts. Great moment here with Christian landing on the ladder and hitting a crossbody. His experience with this match was beginning to show and Del Rio had to rebound by making the most out of his aggression and going after the arm from the top of the ladder. That arm was starting to become a bigger problem for Christian because Alberto Del Rio was focused on nothing more than taking out the arm. Its problem though was the same reason why he had the advantage: aggression. A moment like this bought some time for Christian to potentially climb to the top of the ladder. Del Rio had made an effort to counter, but he landed brutally on a ladder. He bounced back with an enziguri with Christian holding the ladder, who landed directly onto it. It was a pretty different ladder match, which is a word you've heard a lot during this video, and one that stands out for its uniqueness. Christian almost faced the same fate he did 8 months earlier, but avoids disaster. And the fans were fully invested in a win. He hits the spear despite the arm, but Del Rio was still in it. Oh my god, this looked insane because he flipped backwards. But the road was clear for Christian to win the title. Then Brodus Clay came in, he messed up and at one point was busted open like crazy. But Del Rio took advantage and nearly ripped Christian's arm from his shoulder. Fans were booing, they lost hope, and the destiny was about to come to reality. Then Edge comes in casually and honks the horn, which allows for Christian to take advantage. He retrieves the belt to finally become champion. There it is, there it is, there it is. Edge was in tears seeing his best friend winning the big one, and we can't overstate just how big of a moment this was. The fans were the loudest they had been the entire show, and it was all for one man. Great match. I like the physicality of this match. The spots didn't have that cool or pretty element to them. There's no glamour with this match or great images like a bunch of other ladder matches. Christian's arm was almost separated from its socket. Del Rio almost suffered a brutal injury diving onto Christian, who was laying on top of a ladder. And the finale with Del Rio tripping off the ladder and rope was horrible, but in a good way. With regards to Christian's win, I'm sure him and Edge always hope to have each other in their first title victories. I get when people don't like how Make-A-Wish it feels with Edge helping him, but it's important to mention that Christian was at a disadvantage and Edge's rivalry with Del Rio was intensifying right after WrestleMania. But I really enjoyed this match. It was a bit different to the other ladder matches. And again, it's hard to top ladder matches because almost everything's been done. But coupled with a feel-good moment and a strong focus on the physical aspect of the ladder match as opposed to spots, it stands out to me. Christian really deserved this win, and if anything, it should have happened after WrestleMania 26 because that was the best moment. It could have been a run where Christian starts getting into his head and slowly turns heel before finally going face to face with Edge, or vice versa. Edge as a heel and Christian as a face. Here, his best friend wasn't around, so that will always be a missed opportunity. Alex Riley was doing one of the most insane glazes for a human since the era of Genghis Khan, and even Miz had enough after he was talking so much. He mentioned the possibility of a loss and Miz was angry. Wade Barrett and Ezekiel Jackson challenged Kane and the Big Show for the tag team championships, and it was a lumberjack match. The core was a massive failure at this point. We should have known. They're a budget nexus. The name of the group is spelled wrong in a try-hard cool way. With that said, let's talk about the match. Big Show and Kane dominated Barrett. These lumberjacks were mostly worthless. Jackson took advantage of this and started to dominate. Double clothesline, and as you could see, this match wasn't gonna last long. They hit the double clothesline here. Big Show gets the hot tag, fails to do much, and gets jumped on the outside. What are these gimmicks? Who are these guys? They got Byron Saxton as a wrestler out there. Who is this? I don't remember this guy. Who is this? I was watching SmackDown and Raw every week back then. Who is this? Zeke does the work and Barrett tags in. This was a big mistake leading to the loss, and Titus was more hyped for the win than Big Show. And he's in the match. Forget this match. Is that David Hart Smith with a cowboy hat? They're brawling and he's worried about keeping his hat on, and this was just messy. It was about a 5-minute match and it was all over the place. It's a regular tag team match with the action-wise, but the Lumberjacks make it seem like one of the most random matches you'll see from that year. The core was done horribly here, but it also seemed like the beginning of the end for them. There wasn't recovering from the WrestleMania 27 loss, and here it only got worse. At the main event, The Miz defends the WWE Championship against John Morrison and John Cena in a steel cage match. Now on paper, this match doesn't need to be a cage match, but it ended up being a really good one. Morrison was starting to feel like a much bigger deal, but this was unfortunately as good as it was gonna get. R-Truth was supposed to be here, but blew his chance and became a lunatic because of it, and it's funny how R-Truth's current character started with the cigarette moment. Both Cena and Morrison wanted a piece of Miz early on. Once that was dealt with, things quickly got intense with the two challengers. Miz with a clothesline from out of nowhere, and it was Miz who was the one who seemed to benefit the most from the cage early on. He actually used it as a weapon. Cena and Morrison, on the other hand, preferred to use their own offense. Big face buster from Cena, and all three men were down. But the match had already taken something from them, and this was only like about 5 minutes into it. John Cena makes his comeback, but Miz quickly hit the skull-crushing finale. But Morrison almost climbed down the process, and so he had to let go of a potential victory. Both men traded blows 20 feet on the top of the cage, then Cena follows up, and they hit a cringe superplex. This superplex was horrible. They couldn't really get Miz right before landing. He landed roughly. It wasn't good. Nice kick off the springboard from Morrison almost leads him to the title, and Morrison was by far the star of this match. He just looked amazing and levels above the other two, and that comes down to him treating this cage like it was a playhouse. Miz finally recovered and threw him right into the cage. STF leads to Miz almost crawling out. Now he's crawling out. Great moment here with Morrison testing his athleticism. He shut the door on Miz and almost stole the match here. Accidentally, by the way. Then Cena randomly hit a monkey flip for a near fall. Impactful DDT from Miz here, and he got a near fall. He was starting to lash out with aggression, all while Morrison was stealing his way to victory. I don't know how he hit it, but he connected with a corkscrew. This guy was casually hitting a Starship Pain, and the commentary pissed me off because they didn't treat it like a huge moment in the match. It is what it is though, such is life. This is when R-Truth came out. He brutalized him and did all of this with a sense of entitlement. He dropped both Morrison and Cena before climbing out of the cage and technically winning the match. Miz noticed all of this and tried climbing out. Super Cena's senses were tingling, so he quickly recovered and pulled Miz back into the cage. At this point, whoever hit the big move was winning. Miz tried the skull-crushing finale, but Cena evaded and hit the AA off the top rope. 1, 2, 3, new champion. Great match. John Morrison breathed a lot of life and interest into this one. It was very unpredictable here. Anything could happen with him. He could hit some super starship paint off the cage door or something, and that added a lot to this match. It's like, imagine John Morrison hits, and before you even finish the sentence, he does it. There was some scary but thrilling spots in here. For one, Morrison hanging on the cage door. It's like, oh, there's a possibility he's winning. Miz taking a superplex. It was a pretty crazy match and one of the best cage matches from that era of WWE. Then after the match, I don't know why, but John Cena of all people, he had the news of Osama bin Laden. It's funny, John Cena of all people had the news as if he was a Steeler. Obama had his number, and he's talking about, oh, we've compromised him to a permanent end. It's like the medical facility thing of the championship title. Why didn't they say kill confirmed or something? And again, this is WWE. It was so random. Like after the match, he's like, we have caught and compromised Osama bin Laden to a permanent end. And it's like, he's the one that did the kill himself. Like he teleported down to Pakistan or something. But yeah, that's extreme. That's Extreme Rules. This is actually a very good event. I think it's a bit underrated or overlooked, I'd say. I want to say underrated because I think a lot of people that do talk about this event talk good about it. It's a fun one, especially after WrestleMania 27, which was very disappointing and relied on The Rock and Triple H and The Undertaker. It's refreshing to see them actually let the wrestlers just go out there and have matches. But my match of the night, I'm gonna say it's the ladder match, Christian and Alberto Del Rio. It had a feel-good moment. It had a lot of good stuff in it. It was a different kind of ladder match. The main event is, of course, second because John Morrison was amazing here. He really gave John Cena and The Miz something additional to their matches because those two didn't have the best matches, as evident by WrestleMania 27. He was a unique addition, and coupled with a steel cage match, they actually did something different here. You know, like steel cage matches in the PG era weren't that good. This was different. So yeah. Alright, what'd you guys think of Extreme Rules 2011? Please comment down below, and that's for this video. Make sure you hit the RK on the like button or perhaps the AA on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.